Hello booktube, Aaron here. Hope you're doing okay. Today I'm coming to you with a book haul, and it's a little birthday book haul. None of these books were actually presents, but as things turned out, I still ended up with a pile of books by the time my birthday rolled around, and I'll get into that now. There's a nice big pile of quite old books that my mum passed on to me because someone at work was clearing out a relative's house, and she just gave my mum this pile of books, and my mum sort of kept any books that she thought I might find interesting over to one side, and they're pretty much all to do with poetry. So I'll try and get through them all quickly. I don't know how many of them I'll find that interesting, but then after them I've got some newer books that I picked up on my birthday as I was wandering around, so I'll get to them in a bit. So first off, with the old books, this is one I do want to keep. I think I want to keep hold of this one just because it's a lovely artifact and it feels really nice in the hand. It's Bell's English Poets. It's volume 1, so concentrating on really on early English ballads, and it just looks really nice, quite readable, but also just with this imprint indentation here, just really lovely. So I think I'll hold on to that. And it looks like whoever's books these were, they were really into ballads because there's a lot of them. So I don't think I'll be keeping a lot of these, but I thought I'd show them anyway. So here's three Everyman books here. So one of them here is Popular British Ballads. So again, more ballads, and then Percy's Relics of Ancient English Poetry, volumes 1 and 2. So again, probably mostly ballads and that sort of stuff that I don't know too well, but again, there's just such a saturation of that sort of stuff in this pile that I don't know how much I want to keep a hold of. I showed this in my last video. This is Poems of the Cywyddwyr, so some Welsh language poetry with some sort of scholarly apparatus in English, and I'm gonna keep hold of this and make it a little project to slowly make my way through. Maybe do some translation exercises, just to deepen my Welsh skills, because they're not what they were. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. A poet I don't know too much about, Thomas Traherne. So we've got the Felicities of Thomas Traherne here. With a nice little note here for dear Tony Sussman from ESB, Easter to Whitsun 1945. So there we go, that's a nice little Easter to Whitsun 1945. Lovely. And then this is one I definitely want to keep. It sounds really interesting. This is The Trend of Modern Poetry by Geoffrey Buloch. I don't quite know how to say his name. He's got an epigram there, an epigraph from W.B. Yeats, so I'm sure I'll get on with him. And it is early 20th century poetry. These came out in 1945 as well, I think, or 1941 maybe. Yeah, 1941. So it's sort of pre-modernist stuff, a lot of sort of Georgian stuff, and then into imagism, war poetry, and then sort of full swing modernism with T.S. Eliot and his friends. And then this is a really interesting one. So this is Specimens of the Early English Poets. So again, probably lots of ballads and stuff like this. And it's by George Ellis, volume 1. It's from 1811, and you can tell it's been not necessarily rebound particularly well, but they've done their best to make it last, so it looks like it's been, it's a parcel. But it's from 1811, and but it's still together, still working. And then the last of these then is an old Penguin edition of selections of Georgian poetry. So again, sort of pre-modernist stuff that I don't know too much about, but eventually towards the end we've got some of the war poets, which is more my kind of thing. So there are all the older the older books. And here are some books I picked up on my birthday. I went to Bath, had a nice wander around some art galleries and such, and into some bookshops. One of the bookshops we went into was Persephone Books, and they published books either by authors who are kind of forgotten, you don't really know, sort of forgotten classics, those sorts of things. Mostly by female authors, although not always, and sometimes they publish books by famous authors. Like my sister picked up a book by Wilkie Collins, but it's not a particularly well-known Wilkie Collins book. So a nice range of stuff, but they're particularly focusing on maybe forgotten or lesser known female writers. The sun is doing really weird things today, so I hope it's not too dark now. But this is The Exile's Return by Elizabeth Duval. She's the grandmother of Edmund Duval, so I read his book, The Hare with Ember Eyes, just over a year ago, I think, and that's about his family history. And she features in it, and she sounded like a brilliant person. She was just determined to be educated, to write, to be a kind of free thinker, I think. And she wrote poetry, she wrote letters to Rilke, and Rilke wrote back. And then history kind of intervened, and she finds herself eventually no longer living in Vienna and living over in the UK, in Tunbridge Wells. But she wrote novels just for herself, and I think just to get them out of her system. And this is one of them. So it was never published in her lifetime. She never tried to publish it. So I think it would be, just a real treat. And it's about some people coming back to Vienna, I believe after the First World War, and seeing how things have changed and trying to fit back in. It's got lovely end papers there as well, and a matching bookmark. So I'll try and get to that soon, because it sounds really, really good. And then we went to Topping and Company, which they seem to be a small chain. They've got some shops in some other sort of posh, bookish places like Edinburgh and St Andrews and Ely. And I picked up 2 books there. It's a really lovely bookshop. I'll try and include a picture right here of the interior. It's I think it's it's in an old Quaker meeting house, and it's just really lovely building. And I told myself I'd pick up books that weren't originally written in English. So I've got 2 here that have been translated, and I've been saying I want to read more sci-fi. So I've got here a seminal sci-fi writer. It's Karel Čapek, so a Czech writer, and we've got a play here called Rossum's Universal Robot, and also a novel, War with the Newts. I think the play is, let's have a look, I think each are translated by someone else, and it doesn't tell you initially, which is a bit annoying. That's a bit sad. Anyway, it's translated, and I'll try and include the translators in the description, because they aren't really telling me much. And then we've got some Maria Stepanova, so her selected poems called The War of the Beasts and the Animals, and it's translated by Sasha Dugdale. I read another book by Maria Stepanova earlier this year called In Memory of Memory, a sort of strange semi-memoir book. Again, a kind of family history book, but incredibly digressive and quite opaque, and I really liked it. So I think this is all of her poetry that's available in English at the moment. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. And that's it. So 3 books I picked up while wandering around Bath on my birthday, and then a pile of books that my mum put aside for me. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon, hopefully for some Shake Timber reflections.